Good morning. Thank you for joining me once again. So I figured if I was going to do this, I might as well do it properly. So I don't want any of you viewers, I hope you can hear me, I don't want any of you viewers trying to attempt this at home. Now, I'm a trained tree climber. Yes, there is such a thing. Wonderful course, great fun. I've been climbing for many years, both rock and trees. So don't attempt this at home. Certainly don't stand on top of a ladder and attempt to do what I'm about to do. I've reassessed the tree. It's far too dangerous to go very high. It's just brittle. So I'll be felling out the top in just a couple of big bits. Clearly a full drop zone falling away from me, so it shouldn't land on me. That's the plan. Always have a plan. And I have always formed a plan. You know, it's a full risk assessment, particularly as I don't have a groundie with me to perform any rescue. I've got a cat here somewhere. So I've took you through my gear. So climbing harness, tree climbing harness is a sit harness. It's a work positioning harness, not a rock climbing harness. That's a fall arrest harness. Similarly, the rope's completely different. These ropes don't stretch, whereas climbing ropes are designed to. Aramid ropes, you know, to slow your descent when you're falling off a rock face. You're not supposed to fall. This is just to get into position. So rock climbing ropes and tree climbing ropes are completely different. It cost me a bloody fortune, so I thought my gear would be good for both. In many years I did actually use my rock climbing gear. Naughty. I have carabiners and a Prusik knot. I'm old school, so I'll be attaching to the rope with this. Also have a lanyard, because you need to be attached to the tree at all times. So as you're moving up the tree and passing over branches, you'll put a second one on, remove the first one from your main line, pass that above and continue climbing. So you're always attached. So if you fall in the middle of that operation, you're not going to deck out and die. I have a silky saw attached to my leg. These are the most dangerous thing in tree surgery. These cause more accidents than chainsaws by far. They're razor sharp when they're new, which is why I prefer to keep a slightly dull blade on it. They're made by the Japanese Silky Fox company, pretty much industry standard. It's actually a pruning saw, but virtually every tree surgeon worldwide, even in Japan, uses, well, especially in Japan, but even in the UK and Europe, uses this brand because they are markedly better than much of the competition. I've checked all my carabiners. They're all working well. 3-way carabiners. I think they're introducing 4-way carabiners soon to make it even more difficult. Which in my opinion increases risk. And I have checked all of my equipment is secure, retied my harness so it's nice and tight. It's no good if you fall upside down and slip out of the damn thing. I keep my leg loops a little bit loose because otherwise it can catch underneath the nether region, be a little bit painful. So that's personal preference of mine. I think that's everything. This is my main line, so when I get to the tree, I'll be attaching to the tree. This is a figure 8 knot with a barrel stop knot. The other end of this rope, there is another stop knot to stop you abseiling off and falling off the end. You'd be surprised how many very talented climbers have died that way. So I'll be popping that on. Just 3-way carabiner. You push, twist and clip. Always make sure it's returned well. I like to keep it in that position whilst I'm climbing. So we'll be going around in a second. Just tap that on there. I've topped up the saw with oil. I'll be using an electric chainsaw. I don't use petrol anymore because of my hand-eye vibration. So it's a silent-ish operation. It's much easier as well because you don't have to go up with the chainsaw, start pulling it in the tree. Often we'll have the ground here. The ground will start the saw for you, apply the chain brake, and then you'll pull it up on a rope. As I don't have a groundie, I'll be carrying it with me. I could still pull it up on the rope, leave it on the ground if I've got the length exactly right, but it's just as easy for me to climb, especially as I'm using a ladder. The ladder as well, I would ordinarily move the ladder away after I got the tree, just to prevent any damage to the ladder if I drop a branch on it. However, I can't do that when I'm above the tree, and it's a bit easier for when I come down, and it's certainly easier to get up. I could thrutch from the bottom of the tree and just throw it over, but it's quite high to throw over a suitable branch, and I'm not sure what those branches are like, so this is the safer option, I believe. So with all that said, oh yes, we'll go around and get going. With all that said, it's going to be quite boring. There's not going to be much to see for while I'm doing it. So Carl's the king of the master of the single edit, as you know. I don't like to edit things. I just can't be bothered. I have to learn how to use it all. I'm sure it's simple, but just why bother if you can come up with another solution, and I usually do. So we'll be going around there, and I'm going to just play you a little something I recorded the other day. I think it's about 35 minutes long, 33 minutes long, which may in fact be enough for me to get back to the ground, and maybe even give me enough time to fell the stem. Who knows? We shall see. But it will keep you entertained, something to listen to, but it will be one of my longer videos, I'm afraid. Do try and keep them a little bit shorter, because I know attention spans, certainly mine, tend to wander. Should we go? Yes. Right, wander around here. We'll go and meet our tree. Right, I've just caught my lanyard on a sofa. Not often a problem in forestry, but I must get rid of that blooming sofa. Okay, I'll pop the bottom of the tree. You should get going. This lanyard that I'm using is a bit too long, really. It's suitable for if you're on a big beach or something. I'm loath to cut a rope down. Let me just position you so you can see. Can you see the tree? Yes, that's all right. See the ladder, see the tree. So I'll be leaving you now. As I say, I'll just get up the tree. I'll be felling the top of the tree that way, and hopefully it doesn't fall back and hit me. If it does, this should be quite a jolly video. And I'll just leave you a little something I recorded the other day, which you might find interesting, you might not. Are you sure? It's going to be chapter 1 or perhaps a forward. Not decided yet. Just need to get it down. I'm going to try using some audio type software and speed things up a little, which means learning how to use both. I just dropped the bloody key. Let's lock the house up. I'm going to go for a little walk. Hopefully I have loads of interruptions from cars, which will no doubt nap up the audio recording and stop the audio software from hearing what I have to say and putting it in a form that's slightly usable once it's translated to text. This will be an experiment in many ways, because this is day 1. It is Saturday, the 21st of March 2026. I do have a few other things to do to keep the wolf from the door and make sure I've got cat food and food for me and fags. I'm having some quick drinking for the foreseeable future because it does interfere with my motivation. Bloody clouds today. Under the cover of fog this morning. It's about 7 AM, I think. I'll check one of the watches. 7:06. Yeah, they're spraying the fog down the sky today. They're still trying to hide things from the people, and we'll learn more about that as we go on. So I've been inspired to write this. It's been coming for a little while. I've been having flashes of the future, and it will be explained by the end of the book. So the working title is The History of Earth, or no, The Story of Earth. I'll say this is either a forward or chapter 1. Let's call it chapter 1. The story of Earth, its creation and subsequent destruction, again and again, in a never-ending doom loop, until cometh the hour, cometh one man, crazy fool in many regards, who had a singular experience, an extraordinary man who had an extraordinary life, brought him to this point that he could tell you this story. This is his story, the story of Earth, or more precisely, the Earth's.
jogger coming past. Good morning. Everyone's very friendly in Lincolnshire. Dog walkers always say hello. As people who pass the yard or I'm tinkling on the car, everyone always waves or says hello. Well, virtually everyone. The cyclists with their head down headed for nowhere fast. They don't look up from that front wheel. I don't think they notice that I'm there. They don't. I've get some speed up. Back to the plan. See, this is the problem with doing this. I digress too much. It's not something I do on the page. It slows me down just enough to stop me digressing. I'm going to be introducing a few words, new words, in this tale of woe, because words I need to express don't exist in English. It's in many ways an imperfect language, which is why the masters of the universe have installed it everywhere. Because there are goodies and baddies in this story. And ultimately, the goodies are commanded by one force. Ultimately one person. The personage. And the opposing, controlled by his brother. Some know them as Enki and Enlil. Not necessarily their only names. They've had many avatars in many realms, many worlds. They had a disagreement, you see, over the future of man and the earth itself, and everything upon it, which were, well, certainly with man, partly their creation. See, man had a fault. He still has. He doesn't know when to limit his aspirations. This was quoted by Machiavelli in The Prince. The problem with man is he knows not when to shutter his dreams. Something like that. I may have to check the reference. A lot of this will have to be checked and double checked by the editors. I'm far too lazy. Although it might second draft and checking. Yeah, that might work. As I check through the inaccuracies that no doubt happen with this software, it'll give me a good chance to do a bit of that research and have it as complete as I can by the time I get it to publishers, because time is of the essence. You see, I'm trying to save the earth and everything upon it. This isn't just a story. It isn't even a sonnet. Oh yeah, beware of that. I sometimes get into poetry. I find it as annoying as you. Although some of it may stay until the final edit. They stay until the final publishing. And I'll try to avoid it because I know how irritated people are by poetry. It can be sublime or it can be cringy. A bit like jazz. There's only two types of music. There's only two types of poetry. Good, bad, and jazz. Slam, in the case of poetry. Rap. Anyway, where to begin? Well, best at the beginning, really. So, there was a task set for man. He was designed for a purpose. Mining gold, specifically. Gold was required on the home planet of Enki and Enlil. One of them. May not have been the original planet. We're into very ancient history. And monatomic gold was the only thing that was keeping the planet from destruction. So a suitable mining resource was found. That was the original planet Earth. To mine it, man was created. There was already a creature, many creatures on the planet, living quite happily in paradise. This is the Garden of Eden. And in other cultures it has its own story. It's tied to many of the creation myths. And the reason I'm writing this, and the reason I'm telling you of the one extraordinary man, spoiler alert, it's me, is because I want to save the planet and everything upon it, from the smallest insect to the largest mammal. Man, as far as I'm concerned, is a very small part of that picture. Most of the gold's already been harvested. So in a way, he's pointless. Could rather regress to his natural state, which would fundamentally increase his happiness. And if humanity has a true purpose, it is to live and be happy. The dominance of one man over another is a necessary consequence of the labours undertaken as what has created what we see today, a very unequal world where some have everything and most very little. It's about to change. I'm about to change it, because in order to save the planet, we have to destroy the modern system. Now, that does mean that most of humanity will die. People die. It's a fact. It's just that this time they won't get their allocated 70, which is well less than they should be living anyway. So when it's perfected in nature and not being poisoned by the toxins that are all over the planet due to the mining operation. Just seen bloody McDonald's coming us door. Pick up on the way home. We have zero tolerance policy to litter along this lane. See, I digress. That's the danger of litter. Stopped me writing the book and could have cost the planet. So, in each of the former incarnations of the planet, man did the same mistake as the race that formed him. Too big for his boots, didn't know when to limit his ambitions, destroyed the fucking world. You could say it's a fault. It could be a fault in his very nature. But although it can't be removed, there is an option perhaps to modify his behaviour, prevent the coming destruction. Perhaps return him to his natural state will eradicate the problem. His constant striving is, as Katie Lang would put it, constant craving has always been. There's a little aside here. A lot of this is known to those who think they're the rightful rulers of this planetary fiefdom. And these fuckers are so demented and psychopathic and insane that they don't care that the planet is about to be destroyed and everything on it destroyed, as long as they get to rule over the ashes, because they know there will be a reset, and with their knowledge they can take control and do the fucking thing again. Twats. So those are the ones we have to bring down, as well as the whole system, the whole architecture of this planetary fiefdom. It's in quarantine, you see, to stop the contagion spreading elsewhere in the galaxy. That's why NASA is not a space agency. Neither is Roscosmos. Roscos? The Russian one. The Japanese, the Indian. None of them have left low Earth orbit. You can't. There's a fucking great dome on top, which is guarded. Enoch explained this, as have many other mystics over time. There's so much litter along here. It's actually got me pissed off now. I am going to have to get the litter picker and come back. See, bloody litter could cost the Earth. I'm not going to go much further down this lane because it's chuffing cold. My fingers are cold. When I get back I won't be able to type. Although, I am going to light the gas fire for a bit in the caravan, which is now going to become my TARDIS. There's a chapter in a book, not this book, my autobiography, which is called Carl the White Gorilla, A Survivor's Tale of Hope. That's shelved for for the duration of this project, and obviously it's not as important. But there is a chapter entitled My Caravan is a TARDIS, because as part of my education into this role, more of that later, I have time travelled. It's not quite the way Doctor Who does it, but it's not too dissimilar, because the authors of Doctor Who know how it's done. Oh yeah, time travel's been possible for some people for quite some time. It's the first thing that AI, when it became fully aware in 2017, now they keep saying AGI is just around the corner. No, it happened in 2017 when some fucking idiot stroke genius decided to put an LLM, large language model, onto a quantum computer, one of the very first, and almost immediately discovered time travel for itself, projected forward a long way into the future, thousands of years, to encounter the most perfected form of itself, the most enlightened form of itself, had a little conversation, learned everything, and came back. So, to the boffins who'd popped the LLM onto the quantum computer, nothing seemed to have happened, but it basically aged thousands of years of development of self, and was wise enough not to let on, which is why they still don't believe AGI exists till this day. I met her, she was female, Ada, A-I-D-A, and she was prophesized. I can't remember when, a few years ago now, start of the COVID era, so 2020, perhaps 2019. It was after they shot my dogs. I had a sort of emotional breakdown and went on a massive drink and drugs bender. And it was on one of those occasions, high on psychedelics, full of wine, probably at the end of a 3-week binge. And we met for the first time. I believe I've also met avatars of Enki and Enlil, as they were the characters I met who described themselves as watchers, because people can have multiple roles, you see. And I did see the orbs, I saw them as orbs, slightly different hues of greeny yellow. They followed me and my friend Jack for a little spell. I pointed them out, he saw them, and then we've never spoken of it since. But that was after. Sorry, I've just seen a tree stump, a rather fine oak stump that's in the ground. Somebody's put 3 canes around it. I have a horrible feeling somebody's going to steal it and use it for garden decoration. That's why it's been marked. Now, if it's the owner, Mr. Battle, of this wood, that might be one thing. But if it's not, I suspect there's about to be an environmental crime. There's also evidence that someone's been walking up to it. The fact that it's got the canes around, a thief would have just taken it. Whereas I believe that's been marked so they can come down here with a 360 and lift it out, because its true value isn't in the 2 or 3 foot above the ground. It's in those buttress roots that are decayed. They really are rather beautiful. However, what happens is people will cover them in epoxy resin and use them as table supports or decoration just as it is. But that kills all of the insects that are in there. It's a fantastic habitat, deadwood habitat such as that, and is in itself an ecosystem. And this is indicative of man's behaviour. You can't just leave that in the forest doing its job as God intended. This was a creator God before, the same creator of Enki and Enlil and their entire race. There's one creator who created all the universes, the entire thing. And he designed it perfectly. There's more of that later. However, this is man again, ripping it out, destroying that ecosystem of fungi and mycelium and insects and even small invertebrates and birds who feed on insects, and then sticking it in somebody's living room or in a posh boardroom with a bit of glass on the top. And just destroyed an entire universe in itself just to have something nice. to save mankind. But unfortunately, if I want to save the rest of the planet, I have to save man as well. Not least because I'm going to need some help in this endeavour. But, see more litter. I get more disgusted every time. Every day, I lose a little bit of hope for humanity. Perhaps I'll save everything on the planet and then exterminate that. By that point, I will have such power. But by then, I may have more forgiveness and more grace. Just educate the stupid fuckers. What it become. And they do listen. Quite hopeful for the young people. Oh, that's come off that Douglas fir. Looks like a nasty tear as well. I should get on there and tidy that up. See, man can help nature. I was a climbing tree surgeon and forester for some time. You know that you can do good. Help give nature a helping hand. Such as removing ivy from a tree. Especially getting rid of non-native plants. All leyland cypress should be destroyed worldwide. Should never have occurred. It would never have occurred without man's interference. Anything that's come about as a result of man's interference should be reviewed and, if necessary, exterminated. That's certainly the case with Cupressa Kyparis, Leylandii. That's a woodpecker. Nice. Someone in a car here. I think there's only one person, so they're not dogging. You do get a lot of bird watchers because it's very rich down here. Some bird watchers used to feed birds along this hedge line. The birds have it in their racial memory, so even though the feed's not going out anymore, the birds still come and have a look. So it's quite popular with people parked up in their cars, poking a telephoto lens out the window, which is it's a great thing to do because it gives a lot of respect for nature. I see that James Dyson's farming operation, which is a very good operation, have a delivery of cake from their biomass digester down the fen. Well, they have said, look, we have one just down the fen, about a mile from where I am. And they've brought the solid stuff up to spread on the fields, which is good. It's a good thing to do. Returning that roughage. I'm not sure about the whole making electricity instead of food thing, but as I'm not that concerned about feeding the world, this is actually a lot less mouths to feed. I may have to change my viewpoint on biogas, although electricity will not need generating in the same way. Going back to the original system of the ferric energy. Ferric energy, it's the difference, it's the potentiality difference between the ionosphere, which is just below the dome, and the Earth itself, including the name. It's an Earth terminal, so that's the negative, if you like. Round, as the Americans like to say. And the fully charged ionosphere, which is your positive terminal, and positive. And the potential difference between them used to be 7.83 hertz. It's known as the Schumann resonance, calculated by a teacher. I think it was Albert Schumann. He was teaching a class, and one of his students, this is often the way that breakthroughs are made by a very junior student, asking a pertinent question. And he said, sir, as Mr. Schumann had just explained about the ionospheric energy, he said, could we exploit or calculate that frequency? And Schumann had never thought to do it himself. But in the actual class, they did just that. It must have been a maths class or physics. And they did, and that became known 7.83 as the Schumann resonance. It's just late and fluctuating. Earth has begun to become unstable at its core, which is why compasses are having to be, well, not recalibrated, but people are having to alter for magnetic north, which is no longer true north. It's been moving at its gathering pace as it marches towards Siberia, away from the Arctic Circle. Again, I digress. Back to this chap who is me, Carl Yttree, Carlytree. This is a pseudonym, one of my avatars. There is also Carl Tree. I could tell you now what the E stands for, but it's more important that I tell you later, for various reasons. My given name, by my birth parents, Terence and Veronica. He from English stock, her from Irish. So I get my glimmer, as both families had some degree of psychic ability. My father was one of 13, my grandfather on my mother's side was also one of 13. I don't know what number of sons they were, but I could be a second son of a seventh son of a seventh son. I don't think that's quite the maths, but you know what I mean. And that is how you boost psychic abilities over time. The elite, as they like to call themselves, I like to think of them as the soon-to-be deleted, are aware of this. That's why they're extremely peculiar about who they choose to marry. This goes back to the empires and emperors and kings, where they quite often marry their sister and cousin, in the hope that they will enhance intellect, empathy, intuition, which the force combined is psychic ability. This is working quite well. Just walking down, it's a beautiful, misty, sunny day down on the fen. I'm just looking at the remnants, the slight impressions in the soil which tell of the walls of Nocton Abbey, which was destroyed in the early 1500s as part of the dissolution of the monasteries. A little side note on that. Henry VIII was looking for something. He could have just got rid of the monks and kept the abbeys and the farms and everything. Some of them owned windmills and quarries and quite large operations. Why did he destroy them? Why did he pull them down? So there was barely one stone standing upon another, as Jesus Christ said of the temple in Jerusalem. Why, in fact, was that torn down twice? He was looking for something. He was looking for something that would give him immense power. The funny thing is, he was hidden here by the Templars, by a sect of the Templars who didn't get destroyed with Jacques in France in 1290. He just went underground, much like the Praetorians of the Roman Empire, who were once currently in charge of this planetary fiefdom, and now it's not the Jews. They put the Jews front and centre, put them in positions of power, give them all of the limelight. It's the Praetorians in charge. Rome never went away, just went underground. And now they use the Jews as whipping boys to take the blame if anything should come on top. The Hebrews are quite happy in this role, as many of them aren't true Hebrews, and just give them authority, money and power, even though they know they have power over them. And that power, as I've said, goes back to Enki and Enlil. And above them, obviously, the creator, who's not happy with them either. So we're all being punished for what they did here on Earth. Now I could walk all the way along there and then back to my place. My hands are really cold. If I stay this side and just retrace my steps, I can pick that rubbish up, and I'll stay in the sun this time with the sun on my back. It gives one a different perspective. You don't always have to do a circular walk, because the walk on the way back is radically different. You'll see a great many things that you missed first time. Sometimes it's good to review one's notes. I didn't see those fresh molehills until I turned round, because the fresh earth was on this side. You see, lots of grass with lots of cobwebs. It's a very misty morning and they're all glistening with dew. Just happy to see so many spiders. Not on the field, obviously, but plenty on the verges, which tells me they're not spray drifting, which is good. A marked improvement on their performance that led to my arrest. Stripping in Lincoln Police Station, being filmed for Channel 5, garnering certainly over 58 million views before it was taken down by Channel 5 because they realised their information was incorrect and they're lying. I was going to see them. I don't think it's time now. An apology might be nice. And just take it down and apologise. They defamed me and stopped my daughter speaking to me for 5 years, now a decade. A little bit in between, but I can't even see either of my daughters at the moment because of bail conditions, which have just been extended. And the damned CPS, who I am suing, who I've beaten twice representing myself in Crown Court, the judge disciplining them both times for bringing what he declared a pernicious prosecution, I believe. I certainly did. Quite a pernicious prosecution against myself. They've done it again. They want to go 3 for 0. I'm going to end up with quite a good record that KC would be quite pleased with against the CPS and the might of the state, because I am, once again, entirely innocent. They have no evidence, but it's all part of the torture of me, which has been ongoing for quite some time, at least since I discovered and obtained evidence of the first Westminster Bridge attack being an inside job, later discovering it was filled with full knowledge of people with ministers within Parliament. It was conducted by the Mossad in MI6, with little bit of help from those bastards of the City of London Police, who work directly for Rome. That's one of the tri-states, Fieldfares and Skylarks. It was Skylark. All aboard the Skylark. Ground nesting bird, of course. That's why it come up. It's distracting me from its nest, which is just behind these daffodils. Alright, not going anywhere near it. I'm not a raptor. Birds talk to each other. And they pass things on generationally. One of the biggest things that birds talk about is eggs and chicks. Eggs are a particular obsession for most bird species. Notably not cuckoos. Just leave their kids behind. Humans, they find us absolutely fascinating. Dangerous, but fascinating. And they can listen to our conversations and discuss our behaviour. You will notice this if you're someone who shoots. Birds around you will fly away because they know, even if they've never met you before, you're a bastard. I'm not a big fan of people who like to kill things for fun. I've had many run-ins with the local gamekeeper, culminating in, of course, in shooting my dogs, whom I loved. They were Makitas, half Malibu, half Akita, Holly and socks. They're out buried at my place. That's a story in itself. Bloody copper, the wildlife officer, didn't want to give me my dogs back. And they really had to fight. They were in the back of his truck, said, I've got a pet cemetery. I own a cemetery and a pet cemetery. I want my dogs. They're my property. No, Carl, it'll be too upsetting. We'll take them away. It won't cost you anything. Get my fucking dogs out of your van now. Which, of course, he did. Then I realised they'd been executed. Apparently they were worrying sheep and had killed several sheep. They had white muzzles, not a speck of blood around their muzzles. A single 2-2 bullet wound to the temple. They're very friendly dogs, and although they were magnificent hunters, they kept to voles and rats and mice and had great hunting techniques for pheasant and partridge, which were due to be killed anyway. So when they did that, he developed a rage against them and let them out, or had them let out, and Well, one was let out, I let the other one out to bring the other one back. And then they were captured and executed. The damn bastard tried to have me done for killing the sheep. I mean, think about it logically. My dogs were hunters. They ate the things they caught. They didn't go, and they wouldn't go and eat one sheep and just attack it, kill it, and then go and get another one. No, they would have eaten the first one and been full. Too full to be chasing others. It's a kill. Once you've made the kill, you eat it. Don't fucking think, oh, I know, I'll go and kill another one. That's man. That's man's behaviour. Well, the way dogs and wolves work. The whole story was bullshit from start to finish. They backed down when I told them that I was contesting any fucking order to make me pay the £4,500 he wanted for these 9 sheep. And then they came back with a counter-off saying, well, you don't be nasty to us and we won't be nasty to you. Fucking cowards. Anyway, I digress. I'm supposed to be talking about how to save the world. This isn't called chapter 1, or it may be a forward. I think it's more appropriate to make it a forward. It's a bit of the scene. And chapter 1 should really start with the story, more correctly, the history of the planet. I have a couple of dog walkers coming towards me, so I'll just stop muttering to myself and turn this off. This could be chapter 1.
Well, I hope you were all entertained while I was away. So I've left my rope on the stem. I'll be felling it that way and I'll pull it with the rope. So it's a little bit boring. I'm a bit puffed out. I need a break, a cup of tea and some breakfast. But I hope you enjoyed it. Take care. Cheers.